Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for IDW Sonic the Hedgehog issue 38. When we last left our heroes, Belle was sort of being introduced to the restoration. We saw their new headquarters, which is under Silver's garden from the first annual. That was a nice callback. And Belle went to help out in like a mechanical area, I think. And things just kind of went slapstick wrong there. Meanwhile, Sonic, Tails, and Amy went to investigate what looks like a new Eggman base. They kind of went there. The building started to like move on them, like a never-ending maze kind of thing. They were eventually able to break through it with, I think, like Sonic super speed and Amy's hammer, I think, worked together to break them out of it. That's sort of where that plotline ended last time. Meanwhile, Belle and Tangle, who got some great interactions in, started a mission to... We're kind of bummed about not being allowed on Sonic's mission, and so they eventually kind of sneaked out to go join them. And all that's kind of where we left off last time. Our cover to 38 has Sonic, Tails, and Amy kind of falling through a void reminiscent of where they were at the end of last issue. With Orbot and Cube, they're like these kind of rectangles all around them. Orbot and Cubot are each sticking out of one of the rectangles, as are Belle and Tangle. As obviously Belle and Tangle are going to become more relevant to Sonic's storyline in this arc. Anyway, we have our story so far. That's basically all that I just said, along with a little bit of Tangle being upset at being put on inventory duty, I think is what Jewel told her. Yeah. Anyway, we have a roll call: Sonic, Amy, Tails, Tangle, and Belle, which might imply, like, the cover kind of implies Orbot and Cubot being relevant here. But not if it's just the 5 of them. Anyway, we open back with Sonic, Tails, and Amy, who are still falling through the void in just a really trippy kind of design. Amy calls, "Whoa!" And Sonic, "I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this." And I think they're actually just sort of floating. Because initially it looked like the pillars were kind of vertical, like they were falling like gravity, right? But then on the next page, they're like horizontal now. And it looks like Sonic, Tails, and Amy are just kind of floating there. But Tails, ever the scientist, like eyes gleaming. Fascinating! And then he grabs onto Sonic and Amy and starts to fly. "Hang on, you two." And I'm trying to make out what happened on... Oh, I see what's going on. The pillars are, like, moving, like a death trap, like they could crush them. And they had just gotten out of the way of one that hit another pillar. And Sonic asks Tails, "Got a theory about what we're looking at, bud? My hypothesis is that Eggman has created a space where he can somehow circumvent normal spatial laws, thus allowing him to construct an autonomously tessellating, proportionally expansive structure without concern over typical physical limitations. If I can find sufficient evidence to support my hypothesis, then it'll be a theory." So we see Tails kind of like gently ribbing on Sonic there. And Sonic and Amy look at each other confused. And Tails clarifies, "We're in a weird bubble where Eggman's messing with physics, I think." And Sonic asks, "Is it some sort of trap?" "Maybe, but considering how easily we broke out of it, I'm not so sure. Eggman knows what we can do, and if he meant to trap us, he would have compensated for that." So I do like there's kind of a thing in the Metal Virus saga of just like how competent Eggman is. And Starline finding that Eggman doesn't really prep appropriately. But this is a reminder that he at least preps a little bit. Like, he would have been at least prepared to deal with, like, super speed. So, and I'm not quite sure if the story is saying that Starline was just completely wrong in his evaluation of Eggman that led to his whole betrayal storyline. But there is definitely some preparation, contrary to Starline's kind of criticisms. Anyway, Tails sees a door, kind of like the like warp door that got them into the tower in the first place. There, an exit. As I suspected, this place isn't nearly as big as it looks. I think that's Amy who says, "Anything's better than here. Let's go." And they come back into another warp gate. And they're somewhere with seemingly normal physics. There's a ground. And Tails jokes to Sonic, and now my hypothesis is a theory. And Sonic is just happy to be standing. Solid ground, my favorite. And Amy tells him, maybe don't celebrate yet, because this place is giving me seriously weird vibes. And it's a town. A very kind of I'm trying to find the right word for it. God, its word is right on the tip of my tongue. Kind of conformity vibes. That's not really how that word should be used, but you get the idea. The houses are all, there's some minor variation, but they're all kind of the exact same, two-story setup, the same kind of sloped roofs. They've all got, most of them have two of the little, I guess, like attic windows sticking out of the roofs. I'm not enough of an architecture person to know what those are called. The one behind them, though, has three. This is almost certainly an instance of me looking way too deep into this, but I'm curious if that means something. Anyway, time to come back to Tangle and Belle, who have just made it to the tower. And Belle calls, there it is! I'll bring us in easy. And they land they crash that little thing they stole on the bottom level of the tower. Oof, or not. Belle gets out. Looks like we'll need to find another way to get back. And Tangle just jumps right on in. That's a problem for future us. Let's get in there. And Belle looks around at all the destroyed egg ponds from last issue. Definitely looks like Sonic came this way. And Belle takes a moment to look at the giant Eggman base. Given that, I presume she at least would recognize the face of her father, right? It's not been set up that she doesn't know what he looks like. I'm pretty sure she does know. But she also has not met Eggman. Which means she could see that and definitely think that it's meant to be Tinker. If, as the most obvious theory states, Belle is the creation of Tinker. Anyway, Tangle says, perfect. With any luck, we can catch up. We can catch up with them in no time. Not quite sure that will work though, as also the door is broken, isn't it? Didn't the warp door break last issue? And even if it did, the warp door only took them to the never-ending maze that they could only get through thanks to Sonic's speed and the building not keeping up or whatever. So I'm not quite sure how Tangle and Belle are going to get through that. And then Tangle just yells, because Belle's kind of distracted, staring at the emblem. Belle! Sorry! And then Tangle kind of waves her over. Come on! And they're like sneaking through an air vent, it looks like. Just follow my lead. I'm an expert stealther. And we see a whole bunch of warp doors, actually. We see a bunch of egg pawns going through warp doors. Another egg pawn is kind of directing some of those wasp badniks, whose names I don't know. And Belle kind of looks around. That's different. Are they building something? And Tangle, always kind of raring to go. Anything they can build, we can bust. Let's start climbing. And then we hear some robots chatting. Has that pawn squad gotten the hole fixed yet? Looks like they all got lost. Oh, I think this might be Orbot and Cubot, maybe? Because they're kind of the only ones who would be in any kind of administrative role here. Especially because I don't think egg pawns can talk anyway, so... send in another one, then. Oh, what a mess. So much for having a nice, quiet job. How did Sonic and his friends even find out about this base? At least they're stuck in Chamber 1. I mean, how'd they find out? You have a giant, storm of a tower in the middle of the ocean that's, generating a storm. How would they not find out is the bigger question. Anyway, yeah, we see, Belle and Tangle are now kind of dangling from, a walkway. And we see it's definitely Orbot and Cubot at the control center. They got into Chamber 2. They can do that! I'm as surprised as you are. And then Orbot says to Cubot, right as Belle and Tangle get to their little control platform, Cubot, you know what we have to do. Oh, say it ain't so. I'm sorry, but there's no other way. I love this. Cubot is holding a phone app, and Orbot has look away to even touch it. Just get it over with. But anyway, a thing to point out here, though, back on the previous page, is that it seems like there. So it seems like there are various chambers. Or I mean, there are various chambers, but I think my point is that Sonic and the gang are still stuck in the trap. They think they're getting free, but they really weren't. And so in Chamber 1, I think the never-ending maze was this Chamber 1. And then they broke through it, and everything got all screwy. That's my guess. And maybe those kinds of slamming pillars or whatever they were back at the beginning were the chambers were the hallways they were in initially, shifting around and moving. Maybe. And so when they didn't really escape to anywhere new when they broke out of there. They just kind of were outside of the hallways, and it's just that void outside the hallways. And then Chamber 2 is suburbia. Anyway, just get it over with, and Orbot calls Eggman, and Cubot, hopefully, maybe he won't pick up. He does pick up, though, and it's Eggman. I'm busy, so make it quick. What have you two messed up now? And Orbot, nothing at all, it's just... and Eggman just gets onto him. You're interrupting some very important brainstorming, Orbot. There might be a slight hitch in operations. And Cubot just cuts right to the chase. Sonic and his buddies broke into the test chambers. And then the two of them flinch, getting ready for Eggman to explode. And Orbot asks, boss? You're not yelling at us. And Cubot, do you think he's finally losing his touch? But we see Eggman, he's just grinning. Shut it, Cubot. So Sonic's arrived. It's unexpected, but perhaps not entirely unwelcome. Okay, so it looks like this is it's not a trap for Sonic, but maybe he wants to test it out on Sonic, maybe? As they say, when life gives you lemons, I'll take it from here. And then Belle and Tangle were still holding onto the edge of that platform. Tangle has gone to, travel through, the wires underneath it. And Belle says, that was Dr. Eggman. Which definitely feels like she's starting to realize Eggman and her father are one and the same. In a sense. Again, the Tinker-Eggman distinction, I wish got played with more, and I'm really hoping that Belle is an opportunity to kind of make us explore Tinker a little more than his initial storyline did. But that all remains to be seen. And Tangle kind of continues traveling through the wires as Belle follows her. Yup, and if he's planning something, we really need to find the others. And Belle is still looking up towards the control platform. I mean, we all know what she's thinking there. And Belle just says, I didn't expect him to sound so, and she tries to grab one of the wires and slips and falls. Ah! Belle! And Belle slams on her ass on the platform below her. Ow! And right into the path of a trio of egg pawns, which will almost certainly put her right in the gaze of Eggman and Orbot and Cubot, technically, but Eggman on the video screen. Also, looking at that previous scene, I don't think that Belle saw Eggman. I think she just heard him. So it's more of a growing sense of unease than really putting the pieces together. And it won't be until she sees Eggman the pieces will all kind of click into place, I think. Anyway, the egg pawns just find the fallen Belle. And the egg pawn kind of looms over her as Belle kind of cowers in fear. I really, egg pawns are such a joke for most of the series. Both the games, they're kind of the default enemies of modern Sonic games. And even in the story, they're still the lowest of the badniks. But this framing here, especially with the two egg pawns behind him, mostly in silhouette, except for just their soulless eyes and mouth, it's honestly kind of creepy. It works really well, I will say. But then they just walk right on by. So she won't be finding out that Tinker and Eggman are one and the same right now. But it is definitely, in case you needed more evidence that Tinker was Belle's father, there you go. The fact they just completely ignore her, because she is, in a way, an Eggman robot. Anyway, Belle watches after them in shock that they did not touch her, and Tangle just reaches her tail down and whoops Belle back up. Eek! And Tangle looks at her accusingly almost. What was that all about? I, I have no idea. And then Tangle kind of confronts Belle even further. The truth. You wanted to come here more than I did. Why? So this is a bit of a switch for Tangle. Like, it's believable, like, given what she's seen just now, the Eggman's ignoring Belle, that she would be suspicious of Belle. But I feel like this is, like, the way the past couple of chapters have been set up, I would expect this to be the moment that Tangle starts to get suspicious. And her reaction here, though, it seems more like she had these suspicions all along, and then now they've suddenly exploded. And I wish... I mean, this is my instant knee-jerk reaction. I wish that we had kind of seen Tangle's suspicions all through the first part of this issue, and even going into last issue. And they definitely weren't here for this issue, and I don't remember them being there last issue, though it's been like a month since I really read it, so I might be forgetting something. Anyway. The truth. You wanted to come here more than I did. Why? And Belle finally comes clean. I wasn't sure before, but this proves it. Whatever I was built with inside, it's the same as them. I am a badnik, but I don't want to hurt anyone. I just need answers. And the only person who would know is Dr. Eggman. So yeah. It seems like Belle has been kind of dealing with these own doubts, too, about maybe she is related to Eggman. And I also don't recall seeing that. I might just be completely forgetting something there. It might be something that was very much established as something she was worried about in the past few issues. And if I am forgetting something, please just, like, throw it in the comments so I can actually remember for next time. But I don't recall this sort of being a plot line that she... I mean, I remember she was kind of, I think, going into this arc, sort of suspicious about who her maker was, especially because Tails kind of called her out. Are you an Eggman robot? Back when she could read the blueprints for Omega. So maybe this was there. And I'll have to go back and relook at those issues. Because I seem to recall, for whatever reason, that scene about the Omega blueprints being, she just kind of, like, blew it off. And maybe there was a sort of under the surface discomfort there that I kind of missed last time when I read that issue. Anyway, it does her concern does make sense. We do have definitive proof that she has been sort of worried about this all along. Any concerns I had to the contrary, that was on me. Anyway, the only person who would know is Dr. Eggman. And then she turns to Tangle. If you want to leave or smash me, I understand. Huh? And Tangle is seemingly satisfied with that answer. All of that hostility earlier is kind of gone. Sonic and Tails vouch for you, so you're alright in my book. Besides, it doesn't matter what you are or where you came from, because you're trying to do good today. Don't worry, I'm sure we can find you some answers. So okay, that bit does seem much more in line with Tangle than the very accusatory, vibe she got on the top 3/4 of the page. Anyway, now that Bella's fully unleashed her inner fears to Tangle, it's time to go check in on adventures in suburbia. As the three of them Sonic, Tails, and Amy are walking through a deserted street. And Tails says, something is definitely up here. And Amy chimes in, yeah, the design of these houses is so tacky. Oh, and the whole completely abandoned thing too. That's not great. That's some great lines there. I like that. And Sonic gets to run off. I'll take a look around. And Tails tries to stop him. Wait, this place is probably using... And Sonic runs straight ahead, right back to where Tails is. The same spatial warping as the maze. And Sonic kind of stops, huh? So it is. No problem. I'll just overload it again and then Amy calls, guys, look! This one's open! And then they open the door. I get a whole dramatic panel staring at the three of them as they see whatever's in there. And it's just an empty house. A 2-story house. It's got this sort of kind of gaudy, like, light blue wallpaper with white stripes and some blue polka dots. And Sonic calls, hello? And Amy looks in a room. Maybe there's something in here that can... Oh. And I think she sees someone. Sonic and Tails walk right on by. Hi, sorry for barging in, but could you tell us where... And we see it's like a robot bear. We are? And then we see there's a bunch more of them. One of them is like cooking. Like this one. Maybe it's like a like 50s suburban family. This could be like the father reading the newspaper at breakfast, and the mother kind of cooking breakfast. So, Tails looks at the mother one. Are those test dummies? Sonic examines it too. I'm officially upgrading the situation from weird to super creepy. And just then they all hear a thump from somewhere in the house, I'm guessing. And Tails follows some sort of readout on his little device with this click, click, click sound as they all head upstairs, I think? There. And we see an open door to a bathroom. And it's one of those, like, centipede badniks in the bathtub. They'll kind of look at it a little bit confusedly until it suddenly comes to life and, like, rears its head from the bathtub and kind of, like, looms over them. I'm not quite sure how big those are supposed to be in canon. It might just be like an oversized badnik, and that's why they're all panicking. I'm not sure exactly. Either way, it lunges for the three of them. And they all kind of jump out of the way. Ah! And Amy gets a glint in her eye and just smashes it. Absolutely not! She does not want to deal with this thing. And then Sonic notices something. Oh, come on! What is up with these badniks? Oh, and they all are kind of weird looking. Like we see a pink centipede with kind of cannons or something. What looks like a spider with like the monkey head and a bee bat color scheme for its back. And then Tails asks, "Their combinations?" And Amy doesn't really care as long as they're still smashable. You said it, Amy. So it seems like this might be what Eggman is testing here, and why he doesn't really mind that Sonic is here, as the combo Badniks could still, like, it's still a test run, the title of the arc, for the combo Badniks. Either way, Sonic just sort of gets to smashing them all, and he starts to hold the door back. There are a bunch of Badniks outside, I should have mentioned on the last page. Block the windows. Don't let any more of them in. Right. And Tails and Amy go to move a dresser in front of one of the windows. Uh-oh. And Tails looks outside, and we see a whole horde of badniks walking down the street. That's not good. Sonic, the whole street's full of badniks. There are too many for us to handle head-on. And then Sonic responds, so we're stuck in here with no room to run. Fantastic. And as they're kind of all blocked in now, so the badniks can't get in easily. And Amy says, we bought ourselves a little time, at least. Time to make a plan. And Sonic asks, all right, I'm all ears. What's next? And Amy does not have a plan. Actually, I was hoping you might have some ideas. And Tails is looking at a readout on his little screen. I should be able to track the Badniks' wireless comm signals back to their source. That might get us to an exit. Give me a minute to get the sensors calibrated. And Amy, great, that's a start. We still don't know why any of this is happening, though. And Sonic just says, I'm still betting on it being a trap, but... Tails counters, it all feels kind of arbitrary and impersonal. And Amy kind of chimes in with him. Eggman does like to rub it in our faces when he thinks he's got us. Which is fair. Like, Eggman is not... that was one of the big things back in the Metal Sonic arc, how... one of Eggman's defining traits is that he likes to rub it in. He likes to, like, be known. When he makes a move, he makes a move. And it's Eggman and it's no one else. And of course, we, the audience, already know that, like, Eggman had no intention of Sonic being here. It's, as he said earlier in the issue, unintentional or unplanned, but not unwelcome, I think was the phrase, right? Let me see if I can find it again. Yeah, here it is. Unexpected, but perhaps not entirely unwelcome. So yeah, there's something else going on here. Anyway, Sonic just kind of gets ready to fight. Ugh, all this mystery is putting my quills on edge. And then, never mind, that's a bit before getting ready to fight. Because then we hear, oh ho ho, an Eggman laugh. Now that's more like it. I know that laugh anywhere. Where are you, Eggman? And he dashes into the kitchen, and it's coming from a toaster. Far from your reach, Hedgehog. What's the plan, Doc? Trap us in here and force us to live on burnt toast? Trap you? Not at all. This whole place is a test. And I love Sonic just sort of like casually leaning over, looking at the toaster. But it's like a coffee maker, I think, that's talking there. And then the fridge. Not for you, though. For my most cutting-edge technological concepts. A crucible, you might say. For what could become the next generations of mechanical monstrosities let loose on your unsuspecting planet. And then the oven now. So really I should thank you for breaking in. After all, now I get to test my toys on some real dummies. Ho 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 ho. And all of them kind of square off, ready for the fight as the chapter ends. Next time, a backstage pass. We have next month, I'm guessing this is next month's cover, of Eggman in what looks like a VR headset, as we see a bunch of characters trapped in screens behind him: Sonic and Tails, Amy, Tangle, Belle, Orbot, and Cubot. So yeah. Okay. First things first, let's talk about the Badniks. Because they're supposed to be, as Eggman says, my most cutting-edge technological concepts. But there's not really, at least from what we've seen so far, a whole lot to them. You know, there's some Badniks, they're kind of designed weird. But looking at the Badnik Sonic Smashes, and Amy Smashes, they just sort of look like Badniks, but that are like multi-type Badniks. And there's not a whole lot that we see so far, admittedly, to really imply what the point of all this is. Like, what's so special about them? I mean, even if they have, like, capabilities of different types of Badniks, Sonic still smashes through them pretty easily. The only strength they've got going for them right now is just the sheer number of them. Which isn't really any different from what Eggman has been doing for the entire series. So, I don't know what's going on with that. But hopefully next issue will give us some more answers there. Anyway, I think the real good part of this issue is with Belle and Tangle. As I love the like slow realization we see as the like 7 or 8 pages goes on. As Belle realizes that Eggman, you know, is her father. She's kind of had that suspicion for a while, as Tails kind of brought it up back in 36. But then she sees the logo that would be Mr. Tinker's face. That distracts her. She hears his voice. And then what finally does it in is, of course, the egg pawn ignoring her. And she realizes, oh fuck, I am a badnik. Kind of. I mean, like, she was created by Eggman. I don't think that Tinker would have considered his creations a badnik. But yeah. That is who she is, and she's here for answers. She wants to know, you know, who she is, who Eggman is to her, or she wants to know what happened to her father. And if Eggman is her father, and her father was a good person, and Eggman is not a good person, she wants to know what happened. And I think if there's any problem with this whole mystery, is that we, the audience, know what happened. We know what happened to Eggman to bring out that Eggman persona again and seal Tinker away. And so there's not much of a mystery there. Like, it works. It works as a character thing. It works because it works for a motivation for Belle's character. That all works, and it's interesting and compelling, and it makes sense. But as a mystery doesn't really work if we know the answer to the mystery before the mystery starts. That's what I'll say about that. But, again, as a character motivation, it is much more compelling than as a mystery. Anyway, we also do get, like, this might be the most aggressive Tangle is to an ally all series, as she's just kind of, like, leering at her at the top of that confession page. And it doesn't last long. Tangle is too good-natured to really, truly hate Belle. But it is something to note for later. then yeah, I'm trying to think if there's too much else to say that I haven't already said yet. I do find it kind of interesting, um, the mystery aspect of this arc, specifically about what exactly is the deal with this whole area. Like we have the cutting edge technological concepts or whatever, but we don't really know what that's about. Um, and it kind of reminds me of like, or kind of makes me think that Evan Stanley has had two arcs so far, an arc and a half actually, but two arcs, let's say, uh, as head writer of this series, and both of them have been big mystery arcs. And I don't know enough about Evan Stanley's prior work to really know if that's just a thing she really likes. Um, but it definitely is something to take note of, especially because the next arc is back to Ian Flynn for at least a little while. Um, so maybe like they bring out Evan Stanley as head writer whenever they want to do a kind of mystery arc. I don't know. I'm not gonna try to get on behind the scenes at IDW because I don't know. I don't really know much about that. Uh, anyway, this chapter is interesting. I liked it more than last one because things are starting to become clearer here. Last time it was just felt really weird in a lot of places, as I recall. But now it feels like things are starting to come together. It's the kind of danger of a mystery of, do you know, like, I'm confused, but do I feel like the narrative is confused? And last time I kind of felt like the narrative might have been a little confused, and kind of like what happened by the end of Chow Race and the Badnik bases, by this issue, I'm more confident that the narrative knows where it's going. I still do hope there's more to the Badniks than what we've seen, because they just don't really seem all that special. But yeah, we'll see what all comes of this next time. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the issue and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, life is your own, okay? Bye!